On a chilly October evening in the quiet town of Windale, Oregon, the last person to see Julia Monroe alive was her neighbor, Ellen Haynes. Julia had waved from her porch around 8:15 p.m., then turned inside. After that, she was gone. Detective Marcus Hale had seen many disappearances in his 15 years on the force, but something about this one gnawed at him. Julia wasn't the kind of woman to vanish. 32 years old, a school teacher, quiet, careful, with no history of running away or mental illness. She lived alone, had a golden retriever named Copper, and was the kind of person who baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. By the next morning, Julia's phone was off. Her car was still in the driveway. Copper was barking endlessly inside, scratching at the front door. Her house was unlocked. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. But in the bedroom, something odd. A framed photo of Julia and her sister was shattered, and on the floor just below it, a red string tied in a perfect loop. Marcus picked it up with gloved fingers, his brow furrowed. Symbolic, he muttered to himself. Some kind of message. Forensics found nothing, no prints, no blood, nothing disturbed. But Marcus noticed two things. The smart camera in Julia's living room had been turned to face the wall, and her laptop was missing. Back at the precinct, Marcus ran Julia's name through the system. No enemies, no suspicious activity. But her sister, Dana Monroe, had vanished 3 years ago in New York under eerily similar circumstances. Also no struggle. Also no trace. He requested Dana's old case files. Detective Marcus Hale sat in his office late into the night, the case files of Dana Monroe spread out before him. He scanned the black and white photo of Dana. Same soft eyes as Julia, same smile. She had disappeared from her Manhattan apartment one rainy evening in October. Her roommate had gone out for groceries and returned to find Dana's phone on the kitchen counter, the door slightly ajar, and a single red string tied neatly around the doorknob. Red string again. Marcus leaned back. Coincidence? No way. The New York detectives had exhausted every angle. Ex-boyfriends, co-workers, stalkers. Nothing had stuck. There had been no ransom demands, no signs of trafficking. Dana had simply vanished, swallowed whole by the night. Now, 3 years later, her sister disappears under the same eerie pattern, and in a different state. The case had gone cold in New York, but not in Windale, not under his watch. Marcus contacted Detective Olivia Torres in Manhattan, who had worked Dana's case. She picked up on the second ring. "I never forgot about Dana," she said. "Red string on the doorknob still haunts me." He filled her in on Julia's case. Silence hung heavy for a moment. "Same signature," Olivia said finally. "Same month, same style. Maybe it's not about them. Maybe it's about something they knew." That thought sent a chill down Marcus's spine. The next morning, he went back to Julia's house. This time, he brought a tech expert to check the smart home system. The technician restored a deleted fragment from the cloud. A grainy frame showing a tall, hooded figure standing in Julia's hallway at 8:23 p.m. The figure turned the camera to the wall. "Facial recognition?" Marcus asked. "Too blurry, and he knew where the cameras were," the tech replied. "Pro. They also retrieved Wi-Fi logs. A second device had connected to Julia's network at 8:12 p.m., just minutes before she vanished. The MAC address didn't match anything familiar, but it was enough. This wasn't random. Back at the station, Marcus and Olivia opened a secure video call. "What if this guy's not just kidnapping women?" Marcus asked. "What if he's collecting them?" "You're saying a serial abductor?" "Worse," Marcus replied. A pattern hunter. Someone who thinks he's playing a game. 3 days after Julia Monroe's disappearance, another red string showed up. This time it was in Spokane, Washington, over 400 miles away. A local news anchor, Megan Price, was found missing. Her fiancé had returned home to discover the back door open, a broken mirror in the hallway, and a single red string looped and nailed into the wooden floor. The news lit up the internet. 3 women, all similar in age and appearance. All missing without a trace. All vanishing in October. All with the signature red string. Marcus felt his stomach turn as he read the report. He's escalating, he told Olivia over the phone. Or he's toying with us. Olivia agreed. We need a behavioral profiler. Now. They brought in FBI Special Agent Diana Reyes from the Portland field office. She arrived in Windale that afternoon and immediately set up shop in Marcus's war room. Reyes was sharp, confident, and unnervingly calm. He's not a typical abductor, she began. There's no ransom, no contact, and no evidence of forced entry. He's clean, calculated. And the red string, a ritual? Marcus offered. Not just that, a signature. This is someone who believes in patterns, in control. A collector, maybe. Or someone trying to send a message only he understands. She pinned photos of Julia, Dana, and Megan on the corkboard. All 3 are educated, outspoken, and lived alone. All had clean public reputations. But something about their private lives may have made them targets. Olivia, still in New York, dug deeper into Dana's past and uncovered something unusual. 2 months before Dana vanished, she had published a blog post exposing a local cult that operated under the guise of a meditation retreat. The cult was later investigated but never shut down. One of the men she accused vanished shortly after. I sent you the blog link, Olivia said. Marcus clicked the file. Dana had named the cult Crimson Sky Circle. Red string. Crimson Sky. Marcus turned to Reyes. I think we just found our lead. The deeper Marcus and Agent Reyes dug into the Crimson Sky Circle, the more disturbing it became. Officially, it was a wellness community operating on a sprawling property near Crescent Lake, Oregon. They advertised mindfulness retreats, nature detox programs, and soul reintegration sessions. Unofficially, whispers of psychological manipulation, disappearances, and secret rituals followed the group like a shadow. Dana Monroe's blog post had been detailed. She described weekend retreats where participants were isolated, fed drug-laced teas, and subjected to late-night cleansing ceremonies involving blindfolds, chanting, and physical restraint. She'd ended the post with a warning. Marcus stared at the screen. Julia had told friends she was going off the grid for a weekend retreat shortly before her disappearance. She never mentioned the name of the group, but her credit card showed a transaction. CSC Wellness Services, LLC, dated 2 weeks before she vanished. Megan Price? She had also taken a short leave from work, citing mental health time. Her emails included a promotional flyer sent to her by an anonymous address, offering an invitation-only meditative escape in the woods. All 3 women had connections to the Crimson Sky Circle. Looks like Dana wasn't just writing a warning, Reyes muttered. She was naming her predator. By now, Marcus had enough to pursue a warrant. The FBI launched a surveillance operation on the CSC compound. Drones, cameras, plainclothed agents posing as seekers. The place seemed calm, even idyllic. Dozens of smiling men and women, yoga sessions in the meadow, bonfires at night. No obvious threats. But something was off. Reyes noticed patterns. No cell service, no external visitors, and people moving with practiced precision. Too perfect, she said. This is control disguised as peace. One evening, a drone captured something chilling. 5 people in crimson robes carrying what looked like a large trunk into a locked cabin behind the main lodge. One figure stood guard with a rifle slung casually over his shoulder. Reyes paused the footage. That's not wellness. That's organized abduction. 3 days after the drone footage came in, the warrant was approved. At 4 a.m., under cover of fog and silence, a joint FBI local task force descended on the Crimson Sky Circle's compound. Agents moved swiftly. Black uniforms, thermal scopes, radio silence. The operation was designed for stealth and shock. Marcus Hale led the team to the locked cabin behind the lodge, the same one seen in the drone video. Reyes was beside him, sidearm drawn, heart pounding in her ears. The door was padlocked. One of the tactical agents cut through it in seconds. What they found inside froze everyone in place. It was no storage shed. The cabin had been converted into a series of small, windowless rooms. Thin mattresses on the floor, buckets in the corners, soundproof padding on the walls, cameras, multiple, wired into a control unit. In one of the rooms, huddled and trembling, was Megan Price. She was alive, malnourished, pale, eyes wild, but alive. Marcus wrapped his jacket around her as she sobbed uncontrollably. "You're safe now," he whispered. "You're safe." The rest of the compound was swept. 23 members were detained. Among them, the group's founder and leader, Nathaniel Voss, a charismatic 47-year-old man with icy gray eyes and an eerie, calm demeanor. "I provide healing," he said when cuffed. "They chose this. You can't arrest enlightenment." But in the back room of the main lodge, the agents found a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside, personal belongings. Dozens of items, rings, phones, photographs. Among them, Julia Monroe's broken necklace and Dana Monroe's student ID. Reyes stared at the collection like it was a museum of the damned. "He didn't just take them," she said. "He kept them, like trophies." But there was no sign of Julia or Dana. Only Megan had survived. When Megan regained her strength, she spoke. He calls it purifying the lost. He believes certain souls must be erased from this world to make room for a new one. He said Julia was next, but Dana, her voice trembled. She didn't make it. He killed her. Marcus closed his eyes. He had feared it. But now it was real. Forensics began excavating the area behind the Crimson Sky compound. The ground was uneven, recently disturbed. Dogs trained for cadaver detection led them to a shallow grave 200 yards into the pine woods. Inside were bones, small, fragile, broken. Dental records confirmed what Marcus had feared. Dana Monroe had been found. It wasn't just murder. It was ritualistic. Her skeleton was positioned in a fetal pose, surrounded by red string woven into symbols that didn't match any common script. The FBI's behavioral team suggested it was pseudo-occult, something Nathaniel Voss had invented as part of his delusional doctrine. Voss refused to speak to anyone except Megan Price. When approached, Megan agreed, but only if Reyes and Marcus could observe from the other side of the one-way mirror. Voss sat across from her, hands shackled, that same unsettling serenity on his face. "I knew you were strong," he said softly. "You endured the fire. They couldn't." Megan remained calm. "Why Julia? Why Dana?" He smiled. "Sisters of the blood moon. They spoke against the light. They chose fear over cleansing. But you surrendered. You're ready for ascension." Megan leaned forward. "Where is Julia?" Voss stared at her. A long silence. Then, "She ran." Marcus froze. Reyes leaned in. She didn't accept the flame. She escaped into the dark, but not far. She'll return. They always return. Reyes turned to Marcus. He's bluffing, or he lost her. Either way, Julia may still be alive. The search expanded. Helicopters scanned the surrounding forest. ATVs and tracking dogs combed every trail. But by nightfall, there was no sign of Julia, until a park ranger discovered a torn piece of red flannel shirt snagged on a low-hanging branch 8 miles from the compound. It matched the clothes Julia had been wearing when she vanished. And nearby, half buried under leaves, they found a journal. Water-damaged, pages torn, but still legible. The name written inside, Julia Monroe. The last entry. Marcus closed the journal with shaking hands. She's out there. Alive. Somewhere. By morning, the manhunt had turned into a rescue mission. Search and rescue teams focused on a 5-mile radius surrounding the location where Julia's journal was found. Time was critical. Cold October nights in the Oregon woods were unforgiving, and Julia had likely been on the run for nearly a week, with no proper food, water, or shelter. Marcus Hale insisted on joining the search team. He couldn't sit behind a desk. Not now. Not when Julia might still be alive. Agent Reyes coordinated from Command Central, directing drone flyovers and thermal scans from above. The forest was thick with old pine and moss, visibility low, even in daylight. But just before dusk, one of the dogs, Kilo, a black lab trained for human scent, barked sharply and darted off trail. The handler followed, shouting for backup. Marcus arrived moments later. There, under a moss-covered overhang, curled in the shadows, was Julia Monroe. Barefoot, bruised, and clutching a sharpened stick in both hands like a weapon. Her eyes were hollow. Wild. Marcus approached slowly, crouching. "Julia, it's okay. I'm Detective Hale. You're safe now." She blinked at him. Then recognition bloomed. Her lips trembled. Is Dana with you?" Marcus shook his head, voice thick. "We found her. She's gone. But you made it. And Megan's safe." Tears spilled from Julia's eyes as she dropped the stick. Marcus wrapped his arms around her, signaling for the medics. That night, under floodlights and fire-colored trees, they carried Julia out of the forest. 2 days later, Julia spoke in a full debrief. "He drugged us with tea," she said. "Said we had to shed the poison of the outside world. Dana fought him, so he separated us. I only saw her once after that. She had blood on her face." She paused, struggling to speak. "He said I'd join her soon, but I pretended, played along, smiled. Then, when the guards were distracted, I ran." She had survived in the woods for 6 days, living on berries, creek water, and fear. "I never thought you'd find me," she whispered to Marcus. "You left us a trail," he replied. "You didn't give up, neither did we." The trial of Nathaniel Voss became a nationwide sensation. Courtroom sketches were broadcast alongside old footage of his retreat advertisements. "Find yourself within," his voice had promised. But the only thing most found within was darkness. The state of Oregon charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder, including Dana Monroe, 1 count of attempted murder, Megan Price, multiple counts of kidnapping, false imprisonment, assault, and psychological abuse. His defense? Insanity. He believed he was purifying the world, his attorney told the court. He thought these women were vessels of shadow, meant to be cleansed. But Reyes and Marcus worked tirelessly with prosecutors to dismantle that argument. They had the footage, the journals, the survivor testimony, the red string patterns that matched handwriting analysis done by FBI profilers. Julia Monroe took the stand with her hands shaking but her voice steady. "He said I was dirty," she told the court. "He said I needed to disappear, but I didn't." Megan Price followed with raw emotion. "He broke me down until I didn't know who I was. But he couldn't kill my will to live. He didn't win." And then came the forensic bombshell, evidence of 12 other women whose belongings were found in that same underground chamber. Voss had been operating long before Dana. He wasn't a spiritual leader. He was a serial predator. The jury deliberated less than 5 hours. After the verdict, Marcus and Reyes stood quietly outside the courthouse. "It's over," Reyes said. Marcus looked at the fall sky, deep red over Windale's rooftops. For him, maybe, but not for them. Not ever. 6 months later, Julia returned to teaching. Megan began writing a memoir. And Marcus Hale took a new case, another missing person. This one in Colorado. No red string, no cult, just silence. But somewhere, far off in the pine-scented distance, he knew shadows still waited. And he'd be there when they stirred.